Good morning.
Okay.
Hello,
I
hello.
have my sound.
Morning.
Wait a minute.
Good, good.
Wait a minute. Okay, I'm plugged in.
Hey, Don, I have a question.
Yes.
I guess I missed something somewhere along the way. In your email for the meeting, you said the sign-in is in the Google Calendar.
Right.
How do I go to the Google Calendar?
The Google Sheets calendar.
Yeah.
Well, I've sent the link out a few times, and it's how we've always accessed this meeting since we started, last summer. But I can send it again. I'm happy to send that to you.
Okay. I had to go back through and search old emails from you.
Yep.
To
You
try
need
to find that.
save that as a new email so you always have it, and then it'll be right fresh. Yeah.
Well,
Save it.
I mean, it's in my, in my box. It's still there, but I just have to go back and search it then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know how difficult it is for you to just throw that into the email when you remind about the meetings.
Well, because I want people to be looking at that calendar at least once a month to add stuff to it. So if you just keep it as new, then it should be right there. Or save the link. If you want to copy the link, and you could save it as a Word document on your desktop or something like that, just copy the link, and then you can just access it that way too.
Okay, I'm showing my computer idiocy though, because I don't know how to do all that stuff. So I don't navigate through the computer really well. Like people will say to me, save it this way, save it that way. I don't know how to do that. I can't.
Okay, so the email that you go in and search for, save it as new rather than in your old mail. Just keep it new in your inbox.
But I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, that confuses me too.
I mean, I have to go back and still search. So I had to put your name in, and then I had to scan down the emails to find an email, and I clicked on one and it didn't have the link in it. So then I had to go back and find another one. So what
Donna, you know how to copy and paste, right?
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, I'm not a computer master. So what I'm saying is it would just be so much easier if the link was in the email. I know I hear what you're saying about the calendar, but it's just frustrating for me to have to go through that. And that's why I came on really early today, because every meeting I'm late because I'm trying to get through all this stuff and then it doesn't work. And then I get signed in by 5 after.
All
So
right. I'll send some suggestions to you and see if we can figure this out.
okay. All right.
Maybe write it down on a Post-it note, and then you got it.
Yeah, but then I have to type the whole thing in. If I write
Donna, I'm trying to work with you on this.
I know, but what I'm saying is to click on it is so easy because it's really long.
All right,
and then
I gotta let people in here. Okay. All right. Well, we'll continue this conversation, Donna. So. All right. Hey, Greg. Hey, Eric. Craig.
Morning.
Ruth.
morning.
Morning.
You all sound a little groggy this morning.
The way I always sound.
We've got a summer day down here. I think it's 82.
Oh,
That's too hot.
It is too hot. I agree.
But you don't have humidity though, Greg, do you?
No, no humidity. No.
No,
It's actually very windy, and I was, outside this morning, and I thought, I feel like I'm on an island. It's very tropical, just breezy, windy, humidity just hanging in the air. And
Mm.
so I pretended island.
Good.
Donna, my outdoor shower was really great this morning.
oh,
Oh, I love that
okay.
outdoor shower. I love that.
Donna and I share that in common. We love our outdoor showers.
Yeah.
We've got probably, what is this, March, April. We've got about 2 more months before we can turn it
Yeah.
on. Yeah. And we have to, of course, turn it off because it'll freeze,
Oh, yeah, sure.
shut the water out of the pipes, but you don't have to deal with that. But
Nope.
yeah.
I
No,
use it.
I wish we had it all the time because we use it all summer long.
I use it year round, even if it's cold and there's steam rolling out of it, because I've
Yeah.
got hot water. So.
Well, we've been out there when it's been a little chilly, and actually I was preparing for a dinner party for the next day one night, and I was up until like 1 in the morning or something, still in the kitchen. And I was just so grungy, from cooking and everything. And I went out there at that time of the morning and took a shower outside. I'm looking up at the stars, watching the bats fly around in the sky.
Yeah.
Guys, let's get started. And Peter's I think might be joining us if he can, but I know he was going to be gone, so I realized that I should do something for the opening, and then I got some sad news the other day that Susan Blaine has died.
Oh my
goodness.
gosh. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Oh,
Yeah, she was on the board, and then she messaged me and saying that she had some health concerns she needed to attend with, and I didn't really know at the time what those were. But anyway, so in honor of Susan, I did a little research about her, and I will share with you that Sue in her career worked with writers and liturgists from around the UCC to create Worship Ways, the online resource for lectionary-based worship. Sue's career was spent in teaching, planning, and creating worship in the seminary, congressional, and synod settings. And she has edited volumes 2 and 3 of Imagining the Word, an arts and lectionary resource. That was through United Press. She's also served on the editorial board for Sing, Prayer, and Praise from 2019. So in honor of Sue, I found a prayer that kind of invoked some of the work she does. It's called A Prayer for Artists, adapted from Herbert Whitaker's Prayer for the Artist from 1987. Lord, remember your artists. Have mercy on them and remember with compassion all of those that reflect the good, the ill, the strength, and the weaknesses of the human spirit. Remember those who raise their voices in unending song, those who pour their souls into music loud and soft. Remember those who put pigment to surface, carve wood and stone and marble, who work base metals into beauty, building upwards from the earth towards heaven. Remember those who put thought to paper by computer and by pen, the poets who delve, the playwrights who analyze and proclaim, the dreamers up of narrative, all those who work with the light and shadows of film. Remember the actors moved by the Spirit and dancers moving through space. Remember all these artists whom you have placed among us, for they are not, O Lord, the fellows of your inspiration. Do they not, Lord, bring to your people great proof of your divinity and our part in it? Remember your artists and show them mercy and compassion that they may do the same, and so uplift all your people, that they may cry forth your praises as we do here. Amen, amen, amen.
Amen. Don, I know that you all didn't have a chance to get to know her very well,
No.
but I worked with her way back in 2011. We worked together over a period of 2 years in planning the General Synod worship services. And that year it was to be in Tampa. And that's how I entered on there. And she was just the most amazing person, open to an openness of creative ideas and receiving ideas. Always had, kind of a woman of few words, but had a sparkle about her, an energy, and I just am so shocked and sorry to lose her gifts to this world. She was an amazing, amazing lady. We brought in, I forget how many tons of sand into the Tampa Convention Center because it was that that Abraham, that blessing, your descendants will be like the grains of sand. And we wanted water and palm trees for Florida. And she just was, the sky was the limit and she made it happen. We had a pool in the front and sand and palm trees. And it was just, she was a very creative artist in every way. And if you do not own those, there are 3 volumes of Imaging the Word, and I don't know if they're still in print, but if you can grab a hold of those in some even used fashion, they are amazing books. 3 volumes of Imaging the Word, and it's art and poetry and hymnody, and she was created all of that. I'm sorry, I just am processing her a little bit, that in shock. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else want to share some memories or thoughts? Peter?
I would. I loved Sue. She was wonderful. I served on the committee with the United Church of Canada, which I did let the committee know she got done when she retired. And I got the most beautiful notes back from her, from Lydia, who was her counterpoint in faith formation. Also, I contacted Ashley Cook Clary, who's the executive director of the National Association of Congregational Christian Churches. Sue had been her professor when she was in New York. And she said she was wonderful. And I contacted Sue a couple weeks ago. She said, "Oh, Ashley will be perfect." I had Sue here for lunch. We had Prosecco, we had espresso. It was wonderful. She was so happy. She got a new car because her 20-year-old car died. I called it the Cougar Mobile. Anyway, I feel guilty. I honestly do. She had a Roman Catholic background. She had been a nun and a sister, and then they paid for her to go to seminary, and she ditched the Catholic Church. But Mary was important to her. And on my piano at church, I have a little tiny statuette of Mary because I did it, and I thought I did something with her. I thought, I've got to mail this to Sue. I've got to mail this to Sue. I didn't mail it to Sue. And I just feel sad that I was too slothful for that little thing. Spirit was telling me mail it to Sue, and I didn't do it. That's my burden to bear. Not that it would have made a difference, but I loved her. She was so positive, joyful, happy, and I'm so sorry she's not with us and that she does not get to write new planning books, new guidelines for the church, which was one of her goals. And I was going to help her. So poopy doopy. Glad Miss Sue is with us now in spirit everywhere. Be careful. She's watching.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don, I wanted to make sure that we had names spelled correctly for Brandon. So it's Susan Blaine, Blain.
Yes.
Yeah. And while we're doing that, I'm sorry, I may be out of order, but in the minutes from last month, under Don's report, we had
I know what you're
prayers
going to
for
say.
Annalise, and who had ovarian cancer, and clearly we meant prayers for Susan Blaine, not Annalise.
Yeah, Brandon, please change that. I noticed that as well. So, yep.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. Any other minutes that we need to talk about from the February minutes that Brandon sent? Any other changes? So I'd like to see that one change, but help me out here? Do we wait to approve them until that's done? Or do we move ahead pending that change and approve them with the understanding that that'll be changed?
I move that we approve them with that understanding of that change.
Second? Approved? All right, very good. Okay, from there, let's look at the financial reports and move to approve them unless you have questions or concerns. Donna sent out some wonderful reports. Have you had a chance to look at them? Are we ready to approve those? If so, somebody please make a motion.
I move that we approve the beautiful financial reports.
I
Second,
second.
all right, approved. Very, very good. Okay, so I'm going to just throw out an idea that kind of was generated from last month's meeting, and Joan and I have talked a little bit about this. So when Eric was asking for materials and banners and pull up, flyers and banners and little hand pamphlets, it seems like this stuff is a tad bit scattered, with our members and, committee members and advisors and this and that. In a perfect world, wouldn't it be nice if they all had a central location where they could be stored, and we had like a little checkout system? Eric needs this for his conference. Let's get this mailed to him. Of course, not on his dime for the postage and all that kind of stuff. But who and where? Who would be the gatekeeper of these materials? Where would they live? And ideally, it'd be a location that isn't going to change every 2 years if we had something in mind. That's a little daunting when I think about it, because I don't know what the answer is that, but you're a very smart board. And if you have any thoughts or ideas of where, we could have a central location for these kind of materials for people to request them and this and that, I think that'd be really nice, but that's as far as I've gotten with it. I don't have a suggestion as where they should be, So if you have, Peter.
Yes, I wanted to, I'm sorry, Joan. The reason it wasn't in a central location for several things is because the postage to mail some of the banners cost just as much as the banner, or almost as much. That's from my understanding from previous conferences and things. So if we travel to ACDA, for example, I hand carried it from Maine, and I met Jody there and gave it to her or something. So the centralized deer obviously makes common sense, but at that time there was a practical understanding and a couple of the things were new. I think that's right. Isn't that, Joan?
Yeah, that sounds right. We don't
Okay.
have an office. We need an office.
Right. Yeah, like in Eric's case, I forget who had that. Somebody had that pull-up banner, and I mean, how, other than mailing it to Eric, how would we, people can't drive, 6 hours to drop that off. So I don't know the answer to this, but it's worth pondering, thinking about.
I have a guest room if anybody wants to drive that far and stay overnight. No, if the banners and information can get to me, then I can bring it directly to the conference this summer. I'll need it in mid-June for our new Keystone Conference meeting, annual meeting, and then I can bring it up to Greenwich.
Eric,
Yep.
do you need the big one, or is it good enough to have the small ones?
I think that, does the small one sit on a table?
Yeah.
I think that would be fine.
I have one small one.
Well, and I hope you remember from last meeting that I currently hold all of this
Okay.
at my church, and I probably need to send that somewhere. And so
Well,
I have a
yeah.
big banner, and I have 3 plastic storage bins that I would call medium sized. So it's not a lot, but it will cost some money to mail it, to UPS it somewhere. And so I appreciate this discussion. Don't know what the answer is either. To keep mailing that around every 2 years is costly. And I'm unwilling to, I don't know, Jonah and I also talked, and I said last meeting that I'm unwilling to, I don't have the skills nor the time to digitize all of our history. And the plastic bins are the history of UCCMA. And I've gone through and thrown away duplicate things. So that's pretty much, our history exists in 3 small to medium-sized bins at this point. But I think that's important to us. I don't think none of us are suggesting we throw that away. It just needs to collect dust in some other central spot. The banners are another issue. The banners should be sent. And I have it on my notes to send that to you, Eric, ASAP. I was kind of waiting for this discussion to happen to see if I need to send the other things to you also or what. So.
Thank you,
Ruth?
Greg. I appreciate that.
Ruth, you had your hand up?
Yeah, it seems to me that we should digitize as much as we can and that we should find somebody and pay them to do that. Take it off of Greg's plate, but it should be done and it would be a whole lot more portable if it's digitized. But I mean, the banners are a separate thing. What exists beyond the banners and the history? What else exists? Pamphlets?
Oh, I have a lot of, I have copies of every journal, just about every journal. I have multiple copies. And yeah, I have like a paper archives here at the house.
Okay, so that's archives.
Yeah.
So aside from getting the banner from place to place, what else needs to move from place to place? What else will we need to take to Greenwich? Nothing?
Well, there are items you don't want to throw out, physical items, just because they're historic. Is that true?
Right.
Yeah.
Then I'm just trying to figure out what, if we've got stuff that's moving around,
Mm.
because we can digitize the magazines and such.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any organizational brochures or programmatic brochures or anything like that that we have created in the past for
I have some.
events.
I have some, but they're all old and outdated, like membership
Right.
brochures.
So
Okay.
this is good. Then we don't have a whole bunch of stuff that has to get shipped around.
Right.
So if we figure out the banner issue, and I would vote to pay somebody to digitize the historical documents and figure out where to store those, maybe on the website or something.
Yeah, I agree too.
Well, it seems to me that we've got a couple things. The digitizing our history, which is a big project and probably, and I'm hearing you say that that's one that should be outsourced. I don't think any of us have the time or ability to take that on.
Well, especially if it's at your church, then it's you.
Right.
That's not fair.
Well, and I think if you I don't know how many of you read the notice or not, but I am leaving my position. And so my time is pretty limited here. And I still would have access to the church. They're not kicking me out and throwing away the key or anything. I'm leaving in very good relationship, but at the same time, I'd like to wrap up that detail. I guess I'm suggesting I would throw out two things. Let me mail the banner to Eric, the large banner. And Eric, do you feel like that, or is anyone willing to receive the 3 bins of history and research finding someone in your vicinity to digitize those and come back to us with a price?
I could do that if that's what the board wants to have happen. I mean, I have people here who I could go to make that happen if that's indeed what the group wants. Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. And then, you know, we'll decide how we want to store that or where we want to keep that, or, you know, all that digitized information. And then I can bring the banner and whatever else hardware that is necessary to the conference in July. And we can
So
go from there.
Then
let,
I'm
let
sorry.
me ask
Yeah.
let me ask a question here. So Joan said you have the small banner, the table size banner.
Yeah.
Maybe what could happen is, Greg, you send all of that stuff to me in Greenwich. And the big banner is there. You don't have to send it to Eric, and Eric brings it from Pennsylvania over here. It's here, and then he could take the banner wherever else. Joan could get the small banner to Eric somehow, and Eric could pick up if stuff goes that way. Eric could pick up all the historical documents that Greg sends me, takes them to be digitized or whatever, and it just goes to one address, and you all can pick it up here in July.
That sounds acceptable as well.
So Eric, just clarification, you feel like you do not need the big banner for your event in June?
Probably not. I mean,
Yeah.
I have a table booth set up at the conference that's happening in June, and I think a table sign banner of some sort would be plenty.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I've commented on this. And I think the digitizing is a good idea. However, if you refer to my second sheet of the treasurer's report, it's now March. We still have 10 months of this year for expenses. And there's just over $3,000 of expendable funds that are not designated for specific areas, in other words, restricted. So I just want to caution everyone to be aware of that. Last year, the balance sheet was in a minus position because of the $3,000 that we paid for the anniversary music. And that was not allocated in our budget. So technically we ended the year in a minus almost $3,000 place. So from an accounting standpoint, we need to be very careful of that. And depending on how costly the digitalization would be, unless monies are taken from somewhere that we have it, like, and the only other place we have money that really scholarships or scholarships, and they're given for that reason, and it's the endowment money. So I just want to plant that seed with everyone to just kind of keep that in mind as well, how much the cost would come in to do that.
Well, I think that what I'm hearing is that we mail it somewhere, and that will cost. I can't remember, Donna. I think that when Michelle mailed it to me, it was maybe even $200. It's not cheap to mail that heavy stuff, as I can do it book rate or whatever. I'm not sure about that, but sounds like the first step is to mail it somewhere, and then that somewhere does some research in terms of cost of digitizing it and outsourcing that, and we come back to the board with a price tag on that and make the decision then. That's
Sure.
Craig, are you willing to accept all of this then? And do you have space to, it takes up a little bit of a closet somewhere.
Yeah, I got plenty of space at the church.
Okay. All right, I'll do it.
Okay.
And it goes without saying that once it's digitized, we dispose of the papers, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yep. Okay, good.
Great.
Thank you, guys. That's great. Mr. Craig, would you like to give us an update?
Sure. There's not a whole lot from my end in terms of what's going on. I'm in the process now this coming week of putting out all the letters of agreement, if you will, or contracts to all the clinicians, presenters, to make sure that all our T's are crossed and I's are dotted with them and what they expect and what we all agreed to. The only one sad thing is that Pepper will be a part of the conference, but they actually won't physically have a presence. The person that we had a contact with at JW Pepper was not able to get us on their schedule, and she's going to be in Kansas City that same week. The only way she'd be able to come up is for a Friday for an afternoon and then head off somewhere else Saturday morning. And I said, honestly, that really, isn't much use to her, and not much to us. But she is going to be sending to the church a whole bunch of swag, if you will, to share with the membership and the people who are coming to the conference. They are still providing all our musical needs and all that sort of stuff. So it's just the physical presence that wasn't going to be able to happen this time around. So, and that's really about it. I asked this to Don the other day, and maybe this can be addressed this morning. Do we have an idea of where we are in terms of registrations and how many people are registered so far?
I think there's 15.
There's $4,000 to the present time in registrations. So
Okay.
that's, what, 10
Fif-
people?
15 people are registered. 2 haven't yet paid.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that, I'm not sure what's going on with that, how they could register and then not pay, but it
Well,
was 4,000.
I think there was an invoice option on there and
Yes.
not have to pay online. So maybe that's what it is.
Okay.
So my next question to you, and I sort of was up half the night thinking about this and how to present this. Do we, or have we thought about what plan B is if we get to a certain date and we don't have critical mass? What do we do at that point?
Do you have a break-even number?
Not really. I mean, we've got stuff that's kind of a working budget. The biggest thing, and that's another topic that we need to address here a little bit. The biggest thing is the hospitality food item. It's still up in the air because I can't ask for, caterers and things like that of what it would cost when I don't have a clue how many people they need to plan for. So it's kind of like, chicken and the egg.
I know it gets kind of scary because people don't sign up till later. But people will sign up around the early bird deadline date. You'll get a
Right.
few then, and then you'll get more throughout the spring, and closer to the time you tend to get a little bump in registration. So at this point, it looks pretty awful, but I think we
Right.
just have to hang in there.
Yeah, I think what we talked about was 70-ish was kind of our sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I feel like at this point, Craig, try not to lose sleep over it.
Oh, I'm not really.
I don't think there really can be much of a plan B, because if the worst case scenario, if we are even thinking about, having to cancel, you would still have to honor contracts to all of the
Right.
people involved. And so that doesn't make sense to me. I, I hate to even suggest it, but, if we really lose substantial money, then that could be taken out of endowment, or we have to find the money somewhere.
Right.
There's a conference fund, 17,000. Donna can
right.
tell you that, and that's where that would come from. That's why that padded amount is there. for
Okay.
conferences.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, on paper right now, we have, with all of our presenters and the people doing the paid work, we're at about the $10,000 mark.
Okay.
So everything above that, the food and that sort of stuff, which could be solved in this concept that I think I actually mentioned this last month, but we need to have a little short conversation about that. I'm not losing sleep about this. I'm not worried that it's going to happen, and I'm not concerned that, we should cancel, but I just want to make sure that, something like this has never happened before. And if discussions like this have happened before, and what the solutions were. So just checking those out.
I believe we've had this discussion before. I seem to remember some, panic moments a few months before the conference. So I don't think this is anything new. The other thing, Craig, I'll share with you, and Craig is looking for maybe some sponsorship dollars from the conferences. Eldana, I had an email from Eldana this morning. She has vertigo. So she's not on the call, but she mentioned specifically that she would answer you, and then Annalise has some questions for her that she's going to answer you and Annalise this week. So
awesome.
Yep.
So let me just say that, and maybe this is a repeat from last month, but the conference idea was reaching out to all the conference ministers around the country, of which there are supposedly 36 conferences, and asking them to support us in a $250 donation. And if 36 of those conferences at least gave us $250, we would have $9,000 toward funding all the food and all the hospitality portions. And I think, $250 out of a conference budget is probably a drop in the bucket for most places. And I'm actually going to hit up our Southern New England conference for $1,000. Just because it's being held in this conference, and step up to the plate a little bit more. So
thank you.
Any other questions? Awesome.
Thanks, Craig. I want to get Ruth in here. Ruth has to jump off the call, and I want to have Ruth share any updates she has before she has to leave here.
Just two things. I reached out to Wendy Gonzalez, who is the editor of the Southwest Conference weekly newsletter, and she put, I sent her our newsletter, and she put in the blurb about the conference, and I'm going to work with her to include something about next week's Saturday sharings, and try and elevate the visibility of UCCMA in that newsletter. As far as job placement, recently there's been a flurry of activity, and interestingly, there's been a lot of non-UCC people reaching out to me. So just this morning, we got a Presbyterian church in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And before that, it was the United Protestant Church in Gray Lake, Illinois, which is UCC and Methodist jointly. So I don't know how they're hearing about us, but hey, we'll take it.
Great.
So I'm going to have to leave in 8 minutes because I got a dress rehearsal, but that's my report.
You think if you told them if they came to the conference in Greenwich that they'd have all kinds of musicians that they could meet and handpick a new candidate for?
Yeah, well, there's enough New England folks that are looking for musicians. That might work. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate that. Okay, Joan's got some good stuff to share with us.
Yep. Let's see. Ed and I and Donna have been talking about two financial things. The first is that we're working on the possibility of hiring a bookkeeper to help Donna, because Donna's working with a very, very old QuickBooks program, and is not digitally accessing resources to her. And I think a bookkeeper for Donna, or whoever follows Donna, would be really, really helpful, because bookkeeping's gotten more complicated than it ever was 30 years ago. And bookkeepers don't actually cost all that much. So what we're planning is that Ed and I would finance this position for 2-3 years until hopefully the organization can absorb the cost. That's something we're willing to do. Since we don't have kids, we have a few dollars to share. So Donna has in mind somebody that she knows, it's local, we have somebody we know who's local, so we're gonna work on that, and make sure that we hire responsibly, and not depend on Donna to recommend these people or person because it's sort of a conflict of interest because she's the treasurer to be hiring her own people. So we may need to interview somebody at some point. That we're working on that. And then the second thing that we're working on is investing the endowment fund. And to do that, I contacted my brother-in-law, who is a financial advisor, and has advised nonprofits as well as individuals. And Ed and I talked to him at length what to do about our endowment fund. And he was very, very helpful. He zeroed in very quickly on the fact that we are a volunteer organization and that we're a small organization and that, you know, we don't have a whole lot of funds. And so he suggested that what we do is the simplest thing to do would be to open a brokerage account. He suggested Fidelity. You can open it for free and there are no fees and you can do your own transactions. And then he suggested to take the approximately 20,000 endowment fund and invest it in a money market fund, which was 100% liquid and gets about a 5% return. Right now, the funds I think are sitting either in checking or savings account, and we get next to nothing on our checking and savings accounts for interest. So this would start giving us some return. And then over time, he suggested investing half of the 20,000, investing 10,000 in incrementally in a passive index fund such as S&P 500, which would have very, very low fees. And so then eventually we would have half of our endowment in stocks and half of it in the money market. Let's see. I asked him about putting our investment in a foundation because Eldana had suggested the Wisconsin Foundation, and I looked around and the UCC also offers foundations for churches and conferences and stuff. I asked my brother-in-law about that, and he didn't say yes or no. He said that's a way to go, but he said it's really important to keep things simple and keep things cheap. And a foundation would have fees, and then there's the whole process and procedure, how to get your money in, how to get it out, and how it functions. And he thought really the simplest way to go would be to open a brokerage account. We would need 2 signatures on it. It would be Don and somebody else, minimum. We could have more. Also, he said to go back to Bank of America and see if we can arrange to get a little bit more interest out of our checking and savings account by perhaps keeping a minimum balance of $1,000 or something like that, because it's getting like 9 cents. After a month, we have 9 cents in interest. He says that's dust. So he suggested that. So we haven't done any of that. Right now, we're putting together a proposal for the bookkeeper and hopefully have something for you in April to vote on. And then the investments, I'm not sure how to proceed on that. Those are the suggestions. I think that's basically it.
It's great work, you guys. Thank you. Any questions on that, you guys? We'll get more next month, probably.
Yeah, I might just say that I think Joan knows a lot more about the investment side of it with what she's proposing than we've gotten from Eldana with the whole UCC side of that investment. So maybe we need to ask Donna for more specifics and be able to compare the 2 routes, the 2 possibilities there. I don't think we need more than that. Joan, this is great. I think I like the whole idea of the money market and 5% and being accessible, but then moving that to different stocks that are more opportunity growth kind of stocks, I think makes a lot of sense moving forward. I don't know, unless Donna can actually give us some, Donna can give us some comparisons of what the UCC can do, and through Andrew Warner, then I think we have to have something to compare, or I would go with this, because we don't know what the UCC financial arrangements are.
I did a quick look. There's a blurb on the Wisconsin website about their foundation. Real much information. I went to the UCC and looked at their fund, and they said, sign up here. So I said, okay, I'll click on this and sign up. And up came a form to fill out, and it asked you, how would you like to allocate your funds? What's your asset allocation? And it gave a choice of like 7 things. And I went and looked at it. I have to decide this if I were to invest. I mean, it was already too overwhelming. And I suspect that given that we don't have tons of funds, that getting involved with the UCC doesn't make sense. But you're right. I haven't researched it thoroughly, and we should know more.
I see Annalise has jumped on for a little bit, and the timing's great. So Annalise, we're talking about investing the $20,000 we have in the endowment. In your experience in work, because she's the Hennepin Theater Trust Major Gifts Officer, any information that might be relevant to what we're talking about that you could share with us? And if you don't have anything, that's fine too, but I just figured we should tap your expertise.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Sorry I popped on late. I am by no means a financial expert. I think just the tail end of what I caught Joan saying, I've not had a chance to catch up with Eldana either. We're going to schedule time to chat. I think it's intriguing what she's proposed through the Wisconsin Foundation, but I agree. I think simple is always better. 20,000 is not a massive amount of money. So keeping it accessible and keeping it somewhere where we can keep it growing and just get to it as needed, I think is probably the smart route to go. But I would want to do more research on that too. I echo, Greg, your sentiments on that.
Yeah, and not too much. I think if we just have a couple things to compare, I don't know whether Eldana can do that or whether we reach out to Andrew Warner and ask him for a proposal of what we do with that. Maybe that makes sense. And Eldana is the one that has that contact with Andrew Warner at the national office. So
I'm going to put that on my list of things to chat with her about, and I'm going to follow up with her after this meeting, and we'll see what we can find out.
Okay. Yeah, if we just have a couple avenues to compare, then I think we can make a clear decision and move forward.
Excellent. That's great work. Love it.
Yeah, thanks, Joan.
Can I ask Annalise an unrelated question since she's here? You're a development officer, Annalise. Do you need, when you do capital campaigns, do you need to report in any way to the state, to your state? Is there any reporting or any?
We did not. I mean, we kept it that any funds taken in through that were part of our taxes that we did. And again, I would have to ask our finance director about that because he managed all of that. We did not on the development team do any sort of special reporting above and beyond. We kept meticulous records of all of the work that we were doing and the commitments and all of that, just because we were accountable to the committee and we wanted to be able to track what we were raising. But above and beyond what we normally do in a calendar year, no.
Okay. That was a question I had with the state of Connecticut, but I'm not sure where I came across that information, but I'll pursue it myself. Thanks.
All right, and in the dollar sign category, let's move on to Donna for any updates beyond her reports.
Just that the documents are all at the accountant's so that he can finish the taxes for us, and that's about it, other than what you see in the treasurer's report.
Very good, thank you. Eric? You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, sorry. I really don't have an awful lot to update at this point. We're getting in articles and gathering all the information for our March 31st deadline of the summer issue of the journal. And it was not easy finding people to step up and do things this issue, but we're getting there. And I really appreciate people who have stepped up. And so things seem to be moving right along. I really need somebody, maybe Don and I and some other people need to talk about how we're going to disseminate information about the editor's position and get that out, and talk about how we can get someone on board to become the new editor and walk alongside me for this coming season. That would be the only thing that we need to talk about at this point. Am I missing anything?
Don't tell the new editor that they need to scan 3 boxes of documents so that they're really familiar with their history.
I'm not going to do it personally, trust me.
All right.
I'm wondering if we reached out to Robin, oh, I forget her last name. She's ordained UCC minister. She was the former editor of the Hymn Society Journal. She just retired this last year. I had approached her before about being editor of the journal, and she said no, she had a lot on her plate, blah, 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 blah. But these people like her that have been in bossy over the Journal of Hymn Society, she just might like to take over. The way I had explained the journal is that a lot of things got completed. She says, well, my personality is I'd like to, if I was to have the article, I would want to be able to edit them. And I said, oh, so, and that was how many years ago, Eric? You've done this for 5 years now?
5, yeah, finishing the 5th year. Yeah, Robin Knowles Wallace is.
That's the one and only.
Yeah, she's written for us a number of times. I didn't know that she would, I didn't know of that. I could reach out and talk to her.
Why don't you? And tell her there's a jar of pickles for her if she comes to our conference, or if she comes to Maine. Her sister Elizabeth lives in Phippsburg, and tell her she's supposed to stop by Uncle Peter's to pick up the pickles. And
that might push her over the edge.
She loves pickles. You write that, and then she'll know you're for real. A little jar of jam or a jar of pickles goes a long way. Yep.
I'm writing that down as we speak.
Perfect. Wonderful. I sent her a nice little note when she retired from Hymn Society, and she sent me a couple scathing letters, which I hadn't cited things correctly for the journal. I never told anybody, and really reprimanded me in a lovely, beautiful way, and I took it to heart. So I think she's stunning to scold somebody and offer suggestions, and then she contributed to the journal. So I highly respect her. She didn't lie to my face. She's awesome.
Okay, I'll reach out.
The pickles.
But I also do think we need to open this up to the membership and to conference dissemination of the information, so that, you know, they could put it in conference newsletters and so forth, and get it out to people and have a connection to the job description and me if they want to reach out to ask questions, or you, Peter. You know, because you may have to put up a whole shelf full of jars of pickles. So
well, I'll do it. Don't worry.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Peter, let's continue with you. Any other news to share about?
No news, all is well. I hope that you all enjoy my little epiphanies. God bless Joan reminds me, and I think, what am I going to write that anybody wants to read? But this last one, when I went out the door at the frigid, horrible temperatures, I looked at the little opaque dish from Vienna, Austria, that I put the ashes on because it was pretty. And I looked down, the wind blew them away. Gone with the wind. I thought, oh, this is just like God is teaching me a lesson today. So that's what I wrote about. I don't know why I'm writing these things, but Joan asked me and I'm doing it. I pray for you every day. I pray for our board. I pray for our missions. Our church all over the world is being transformed into something else, than something totally different than what we know it is. I know it's going to be okay. Unfortunately, I think that Samson is going to have to take the pillars of the church down, and it's got to go away, and it's got to be recreated like the phoenix to grow to something that we haven't experienced before for most of us. That's what I know around here from the grand state of Maine. Thank you for asking. I wish I had something of importance to say, so I'll zip it.
You're delightful no matter what comes out of your mouth. I love it all. Annalise, do you have anything you want to share with us? I just want to make sure, you're getting your time up to bat here.
I appreciate that. I don't. Eldana and I have been trying to find time to connect. So I guess what I would ask of this group, I'll go through the minutes after the meeting, but if there is anything in this moment in time that you want me to advise on that you haven't already asked me, please feel free to send that my way. I've got a little bit of time. I can start digging into whatever comes next for us. But yeah, that's really it for me.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, before Greg shares and then closes us out, on the Google Sheets calendar, it says that we need to form a nomination committee and begin process. So I don't recall that I put that on there, but let's talk about that. So is this nomination committee for people leaving the board? Tim, what's those of you who have done this job, Greg, what are we forming the committee for exactly? And can you give us a little history or?
Yeah, we all serve a term. And so we need to, I don't have that in front of me, but Michelle probably has that on her computer also. So do we have any terms that are expiring? And our bylaws pretty specifically lay out whether we are indeed able to serve another term or not. And so we need to find out if we have any openings on the board, first of all, Don. And I think Michelle holds the most immediate keys to that. And if anybody is expiring and is eligible for another term, then we need to ask them if they are willing to serve or not. And so that's how we find out what openings are available.
Right.
And then the nominating committee would certainly fill those openings, be responsible for filling those openings. And I like the direction that you've given us, Don, in terms of finding kind of specific people to have, I'm drawing a blank, specialized areas of interest for us that represent the work and the inside of the board. So
yeah. I asked Joan about this, and she was able to send me Michelle's document. I don't know, maybe it was a month ago or so, when I took a look at it. And Joan, we realized nobody's going off right now. Isn't that what we determined? You're muted, Joan.
you're muted.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I'm trying to be polite. I can't think of anybody except for Susan Blaine, and I think you've tapped Craig to take her place. After that, I have to take a look.
Okay. Yeah, we can take a look at it. We have that document.
I'm looking at the most recent board directors roster. And it says that Ruth Striegel is 21 to 25. Everybody else is 23 to 27. The 4-year tenure. but Ruth says 21 to 25, so it looks like she's coming to the end of her.
Well, this is 24, so she would go until next
Next
year.
Right, right. So that's the only one that was out of
Yeah.
that 4-year 21 to 25 thing. Brandon. Okay.
I think we're good. All right, Mr. Chestnut, would you like to share anything you'd like to share? And Greg is going to close us out today as well.
Well, I think that you all know by now that I have been in a period of discernment and for a few months now about taking the exit ramp from my position. I've been here. It seems like some things have coincided. The church is celebrating the 70th anniversary of our congregation this year, and our senior minister's 10th anniversary, the 30th anniversary of our pipe organ of the Jekyll organ, and my 35th anniversary. And that hit me that I've been here through half of the life of this church. And so, in light of my ongoing health, which is holding its own, it's not getting any worse, but it's not getting any better. And I have decided that I'm going to step down and focus more on my health and some other interests that I want to do while time allows, frankly. And so the cat's out of the bag. I've let the church know. And I think that it's interesting, this period of Lent has been a period of both grieving and celebration. I feel like I'm ending well, and meaning that I can look back and there is a great sense of pride and accomplishment on what we've done as a church in terms of our vision together, and ending while I'm playing well and conducting well and so forth and so on. So that's my goal. I want to end well, but ending well is also accepting a lot of emotions that are in play, and going through this wilderness of Lent has been packed full of just a lot of emotion, receiving so much love that it's hard to describe and even talk about. Love and blessing and and grief, honest grief that goes along with that on the part of my congregation and for me. And so this season of Lent has been unique and will always hold a unique spot in my life because of all of those feelings. So I want to share in closing so this is all happening fast, by the way. I wanted to go out with a bang on Easter Sunday, and obviously the practicality of that is not good because Easter Sunday needs to be Easter Sunday. And so I will play Easter Sunday, and then I'll come back on April 7th, and that'll be my celebration Sunday, and that's the end. I want to share a poem. I don't know whether you all know the works of Jan Richardson, but I want to share this morning in light of what I just said. Her poem is, "If you would enter into the wilderness, do not begin without a blessing. Do not leave without hearing who you are. Beloved, named by the one who has traveled this path before you. Do not go without letting it echo in your ears. And if you find it is hard to let it into your heart, do not despair. That's what this journey is for. I cannot promise this blessing will free you from danger or fear from hunger or thirst, from the scorching of the sun or the fall of night. But I can tell you that on this path there will be help. I can tell you that on this way there will be rest. I can tell you that you will know the strange graces that come to our aid only on this road. Such as this that fly to meet us bearing comfort and strength, that come along beside us for no other cause than to lean themselves toward our ear, and with their curious insistence, whisper our name, beloved, beloved. Amen. You are all beloved as we travel through this Lent and toward Easter morning, but on this journey together. In your busyness, don't ever forget your belovedness. Thanks.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You guys were right on time. You all contributed so much. You're all doing such great things. Thank you. We'll see you next month.
Okay. Thanks, Don.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thanks.
Care.
Bye-bye.